In this video, I am going to show you how to use Field Maps Designer, which will allow you to create some attributes about sidewalks. But before I get to that, I want to kind of go over, we're looking at our web app. And when we have our web map, when we create one, when we save it, we want to make sure we save it in the area that we have made the map, whether it's a choropleth map or data that we're going to be collecting in this example. So if we're collecting data around BSU, we want to make sure we save our map so it opens up at BSU. It wouldn't be helpful if we collected data at BSU and we saved the map when we were in the view of maybe Caldwell. So that would confuse the map reader. So make sure you save it for the area that you are mapping. So to open up Field Maps Designer, click on here and we'll find Field Maps Designer. These app icons might be in a different location for you. So if we open that up, these are all the maps that I have made over the time. These will also show up when we open up ArcGIS Field Maps. If we don't want to see them, we can just click on this button and say hide from mobile app. I'm not going to do that right now, but the web map that we want is what we saved here, the sidewalk condition assessment. So we will open that up. And this will be our Field Maps Designer interface. And you'll notice this is the layer that we have in our Field Maps Condition Assessment web map. And this is what we're going to be working with. We'll talk about this later, but right now this is where we want to be under the form builder. So if we recall, what we want to do is, for example, the first thing we want to do is create a field so the user can enter their name. So we want to have that as just a text and a single line. So we'll go over here, we'll click on that, and we'll just drag it in there. And it'll ask for a name, and we can say user name, and it'll populate that, and it's a string. String is text, placeholder, and we can add a description if we want to, and we can say required. And so if we want this to be required, meaning that when the user goes and uses the app, they have to fill this field in. So we will say required. The next thing that we want is the date. So we click there, we can say date and time, and we can put it in the order that we want. So here we can have date, and it has to be the same, so date. You can say just date collected. There either has to be an underscore or camel hump, where you can just delete that and do that. So we want to have that, date and time, and we also want that required as well. We can select here the date fields, the date and time. Do we want date and time, or do we just want date? We can just put date, and we'll select that one. The next one we want is sidewalk materials. And so this one we're going to use is something called like a radio button. So we'll select that and we'll drag that in. And this would be sidewalk condition and string radio buttons. And we can add a description here if we want to as well. And we want to create a list. So from this list, here is where we will add the condition. We want, it's either excellent, add another one, good, add another, poor, and very poor. And then we'll add that and say continue. We also have no values. We don't want no values to be included in this. Again, we want this to be required. So we have that. The other thing we want is sidewalk material. And maybe we want sidewalk material above the condition. Again, we'll do a radio button and we'll put it there. And this will be sidewalk material. And again, string, radio button, and we're going to create a list here. And this will be concrete. And we'll have asphalt. And then we'll add brick. Add one more. Gravel. And we'll add other. So then we can say, okay, we're done. Continue. And so we have this. Again, we don't want the no values, and we want it required. So we have these conditions. The next thing we want to have is another radio button here we'll do, and we'll have this down here, and we'll call this one incomplete sidewalk. So if the sidewalk is not complete, so if you're walking down and all of a sudden it just ends before you get to the end of the sidewalk, we'll have that. And we'll create a list again, and this will just be either a yes or no. So kind of, and again, we don't want no values, and we want that required. We'll add one more in here. We'll add just a, we want to do text, multi-line. Multi-line, this is really just to be able to add notes. So for some reason, if you want to take some kind of notes, some observations, we can add that. And we'll put that at the very end, and we'll just name this notes. Whoop. And string, multiple things, characters, and we won't require that. So if they don't have to add notes if they don't want to, and it has a field length of 1,000 characters, we can make that greater or smaller, but we'll just leave it as that. So now we have our field that they're going to be collected with: username, the date that the collection was done on, the sidewalk material, sidewalk condition, incomplete sidewalks, and any kind of notes. You will notice here we didn't have to, you can add photos. We don't have to add that here. This will be just a default setting in the app. So you can take photos of cracks or whatnot of the sidewalks. So then let's take a look here at the app settings. Oop. Let's go back to save that. And I'll show you how to save this otherwise. So up here, so the collection, let's just go here real quick. Collections, this is the distance, the accuracy that you have to be within the sidewalks. We're going to leave everything here set to the default. Content, offline, we can work. Sharing, it's shared public. So if we go back to the forms, so if we click on this, this saves to the map. If we click here, we can save to the layer, so meaning all these attributes will be added to our sidewalk layer. And so I'll just say save that as well. So that is how we create our attributes for the field map designer.